We're going to present Hydrate Your Way to Health. So let's jump in and talk about hydrating yourself. Hydration is really important. Our body, I always like saying this with my clients, water to the body is like oil to a car. So it's really important that you are hydrating yourself, that you're lubricating yourself, that you're helping with better waste elimination, that your muscles, think of like beef jerky or like filet mignon. Biggest difference between those is beef jerky is dehydrated and filet mignon is hydrated. So we want to have soft, supple muscles, connective tissues, ligaments, tendons, and even like synovial fluid. We want to have your vertebral disc be lots of fluid and stuff. So drinking water is incredibly important. It's going to be a hot one today, like 85 to 90 with lots of humidity here in Ohio. Tomorrow's like 95, so it's going to be even super hot, probably one of the hottest days of my summer so far. I was in Costa Rica about 2 weeks ago, super hot there throughout the day, so constantly having to drink water. So let's jump in to hydrating. All right, so we're going to go here, the contents of our conversation: hydration science, dehydration, hydration for athletes, hydration for women, and other scenarios that show up. So the science in and of itself. So what we have with science is water's role in the body. So like that oil to the car, like water to the body. So a couple things here, things like it forms saliva for digestion. You chewing and your saliva are the first portions of digestion. So it's important to chew slowly and try to start the process of digestion properly. Slow chewing, and your mouth will start to produce saliva, and you'll have digestive enzymes and all that stuff. Keep mucous membranes moist. So like in your nose, if you're dried out, you're going to have a lot more issues. You'll be likely to get maybe some infections in your nose. You'll probably have a lot more issues with like allergies or sinus and stuff, so we want to keep that moist. Flushes out waste, mainly urine. Always want to have mostly clear urine as you go to the bathroom throughout the day, and if it's dark yellow, then you aren't doing a great job. Now, certainly we drink lots of our water, but we can also eat moist vegetables and foods that have water in them, and our bodies get water that way. So that can help with the waste elimination. Lubricates joints. It's like the Tin Man in The Wizard of Oz. Like he needs his joint lubricated. So if you're constantly staying hydrated, your body's just going to produce, that liquidity in your body and to make it lubricated. So there's a major component of most body parts, right? We're like 70, 80% water, they say. And so you got to be hydrated for your body to function. It's a shock absorber for the brain and spinal cord. So the more fluid that's inside your brain and your back, then definitely the better you're going to feel. Think of like headaches as well. If you're dehydrated, your neck muscles are tight, your brain's tight. There's no shock absorber, so you're possibly way more likely prone to headaches, migraines, stuff like that. Helps with brain function, manufacture hormones and neurotransmitters, so your body can manufacture them and transport them. There's a lot of transportation in the cell, and a hydrated cell does better. Regulating body temperature. So as it gets hotter, you start to sweat. If you don't sweat, then you're starting into forms of like heat exhaustion and heat stroke. So if you're out like a really hot day, like gardening, walking, hiking, running, bicycling, outdoor activity, an event, a party, a concert, and you aren't sweating, that's not a good sign. Your body's going to overheat, and you'll likely end up in the hospital getting some saline solution to help rehydrate you. Converts food to components needed for survival, like digestion, like energy. It breaks the calories down and helps with proper elimination of that as well. Delivers oxygen around the body, allows body cells to grow and reproduce and survive. Your body's constantly basically reproducing itself with new cell regeneration. So you're just better. Your skin will feel better. Your face will be less likely to be broken out. So there's a lot of things. You're probably less likely to have skin irritation as well. So total body water. In young men, the total body water is about 50 to 70% of the mass, and variability of this is due to the difference in body composition. So lean body mass is about 73% water. Think your muscles as where like they need to have water to be function. That carbohydrates stored in the muscle is called muscle glycogen. Your muscle glycogen will attract water in it as well, multiple times more water per amount that comes in. And so when people go on low carb diets and they're not replenishing that muscle glycogen, then they actually lose a lot of water weight. Hence why when people do low carb diets, they end up losing lots of weight pretty quick because they're losing a lot of water weight too. Their muscle water weight is becoming less. Body fat doesn't hold a lot of water weight, 10%. So, all right. Daily fluid balance. Water gain at rest. And we're looking for about 60% of your fluid intake. Like I said, food can have water in it too, so there's 30%, and metabolic water production is about 10. Water loss at rest, so insensible water loss from skin respiration. So like when you're breathing, you're exhaling moisture, like you go, and there's moisture there. So your skin will perspire, your respiration will breathe out will breathe out waters too. It's like when say in the winter, you have a cold windshield and everyone gets in the car. There's 6 of us. I'm 40. I have 4 kids, 13 to 8, 3 boys and a girl. And so my wife and I, we get in the car and fog up the windows and stuff because of the moisture in the air. Sweat loss, urine, and fecal loss. So a lot of urine will go as well. Water loss during exercise. Lots of sweating, obviously, like profusely sweating. You're going to lose a lot of water, which then you would want to then also drink lots of water to replenish, especially before, during, and after, so you stay well hydrated and your body functions properly. Insensible water loss is happening through just locomotion and stuff. Homeostasis, how sodium and fluid are balanced in the body. The state of steady internal physical and chemical conditions maintained by living systems. So your body is constantly weighing and balancing out extra sodium or fluid, and it's constantly working hard to do this. It likes homeostasis. Just even like pH, your body is going to remain neutral pH and more like 7 and not be alkaline or acidic because the body will break down when it is one or the other. Sodium versus fluid. So we have plasma, blood plasma volume, and osmolarity. So this is important to just understand that when you have too low of sodium, then the plasma volume can be diluted. And when there's too much, then it could be like too little water with lots of sodium, then it can be too high and can put strain on the body. So dehydration, that beverage there looks pretty good with the watermelon hanging outside. That would be a pretty enjoyable beverage to get by the pool. Non-alcoholic, if you're talking about hydration. So the ice, right? The ice. Dehydration is a decrease in total body water. Okay, so with that, we lose water through sweating, respiration, perspiration, movement, your waste elimination as well. So in the chat box, would love to see, when do you feel you're dehydrated? Or, excuse me, do you know when you're dehydrated? Is there any points in times you've experienced that? And how do you feel when you're dehydrated? Majority of the time, you feel awful. Your body is like grinding gears. There's a lot of friction. That oil to a car analogy. When there's low oil in a car, there's significant amounts of friction and heat in the engine, and that causes a lot of turbulence and stress and strain on the engine system itself. And when it runs out of oil, the engine will seize. That's not good. Same thing with the body. It will seize. It will cease to move and operate the way it is. Look at runners at the end of like a marathon. I've ran multiple marathons, and you get dehydrated and pretty fatigued regardless of how well your hydration strategy is, your training is. A lot can just depend on the day itself. And so that ends up being a pretty big challenge to manage that. But you feel pretty bad. My first marathon ever, I was cramping pretty significantly the last 10K of the race. So that's 6 miles. So I got through 20 pretty good. Then wham, came the wall. And then I was pretty dehydrated and cramping, and it was a slow march at best to get to the end. Fortunately, I ran fast enough to qualify for Boston, so yay me, that's my second marathon. I was very happy, excited. But on that day, Boston is on a Monday, and it starts at noon in April. So you're training all winter long to then go run in April, which should be theoretically a really nice day, like 50s, blue skies, enjoyable. Well, it was 80 that day, blue skies, and everyone had issues with the heat and the sun. So that one I ran 20 minutes slower, and it felt equally as bad by the time I got done, with soreness and all. So I've also been dehydrated in real life just through like kind of a GI issue, stomach bug. And so nothing was kind of sticking, if you know what I mean. And I was at my grandma's house. I lived with her at the time in college, and I came down my stairs, and all night long it just wasn't good. And each time I went down the stairs, it felt like I had tunnel vision. Like every time it was like my window of vision and perception became smaller and smaller, which then ultimately landed me in the middle of the living room because I fell because I was dehydrated, lost my balance, and was tapped out. Now, fortunately, I didn't have to go to the hospital, get like saline or anything, but I spent the next day literally just hydrating and sitting, doing pretty much nothing to remedy that. All right, let's keep moving on. So what are common symptoms of dehydration? Well, thirst, of course, you're going to get thirsty. I'm going to drink now. So this is my water container. It's 40 ounces. I try and get one before noon, one before dinner, one before bed. So sometimes I flavor it, sometimes it's just water. So it ends up being enjoyable that way. Right now I've already drank a little over 1 to 1.5. Like I said, it is pretty hot out, so I will be drinking more today. I probably at least 1.5 more of those, maybe 2, depending on level of activity and exertion today. I don't plan on working out today, and it's super hot, so I'm not like exposing myself just straight out to the sun. I do a lot of coaching on the phone, and I talk to people a lot. I walk and talk. I'm not going to do that too much today. All right, so what else do we have? We have dark colored urine is a clear symptom that you are dehydrated. Infrequent, less than 4 times a day, low volume urination. Dizziness, lightheadedness, fatigue, could have like a headache, dry mouth, lips, skin. You feel like a prune. I certainly feel that way. If I am dehydrated, I can see it showing up in like my hands, my palm, and that ends up being problematic because I feel old. My hand is, everyone's probably experienced where their skin splits. That's not very fun either. That is a sure sign that you're dehydrated. Oftentimes all winter long, I end up staying with my hydration routine, but I'm also lathering up with moisturizers to help stay hydrated. Muscle cramps, fevers are part of the symptoms that you experience. Now, side effects, reduced cognitive functions. You just don't think clearly. Brain fog is a real thing. Reduced focus. Again, you don't think clearly, so you can't focus on one thing because your brain isn't working at capacity, right? It's a shock absorber, and the water helps with shock absorption of the brain, and your head is just your brain's bobbling around up inside, banging against the skull, and so you just can't think. Increased risk of medical conditions. Kidney stones is a really easy one. I think that hydration, even say things with kidney, or even like alcohol or something, like if it was certainly like alcohol, or even like Coke or pop or different sodas, things like that. Like if you're staying hydrated, in effect, it is somewhat more okay to drink some of those, because there's if you're drinking 100 ounces or more water, you're constantly flushing this stuff out. So kidney stones, the other thing is going to be kidney stones and like liver as well. So we have the next one being greater susceptibility to heat loss, heat illness, headaches, reduced athletic ability. That's going to be a problem as well. So I need to relocate, unfortunately. So I'm going to go do that right now. Apologies on this. So we're not sick, we're thirsty. So there is definitely a dehydration issue with people in America, and it is a big problem. There we go. We're all set here. Apologies for that. I didn't realize what was going to happen there. So one more. I'm going to turn this on. That. All right, great. All right, so apologies for that. Here we are, back to it. So doctors say most Americans are dehydrated. Study finds inadequate hydration among U.S. children. Children don't drink water unless you make them. And so consequently, they're not going to be hydrated in the least bit. So these are problems. Most people suffer from chronic dehydration more than they don't. The last lady I had worked with signed up. She started yesterday. Brenda was her name. Then with Brenda, she's having a lot of digestion issues, a lot of stomach pain, bowels and stuff are a lot not so great either. And she's drinking under 20 ounces of water. And so that's not a lot. That's really not a lot at all. All right. WUT system. Weight, urine, thirst. Ways to help understand what your hydration levels are. So data collection. You need to collect each morning your body weight before eating and drinking, going to the bathroom. Body weight falls by less than 2% of normal weight. 1 point if yes, then you're good. So we generally want to have a standard healthy body weight, not an overweight situation. Urine color, light or dark. 1 point for dark. And if your body weight falls more than 2%, then it's going to be a point of yes, meaning that you're not staying hydrated. Thirst level. If you're thirsty, then you get a point. So 3 points. 0 to 1 point. Dehydration is unlikely. 2 points, partially dehydrated, will impact fluid intake and training plans for the day, especially if you're planning intense exercise. 3, dehydration is very likely, and you need to reconsider what you're doing for exercise activity and avoiding large sweat loss and not doing anything overly excessive. Here we go, the Armstrong chart. So 1 all the way to 8. I feel like mine is 0, like clear all the time. With all that water, it ends up being a challenge there to do. So if you can assess, I'd be curious, what are some of your range that you fall in? Hopefully it's like 3 or better, like 1, 2, 3 in urine color. Staying hydrated. Drink more water. Create opportunities to drink water. Be mindful all fluids hydrate the body, but some do a better job than others. Obviously, water itself, the flavored waters, seltzered waters, spring waters, sparkling waters, things like that are super helpful. You need a strategy, like mine is to drink 40 ounces before noon, 40 ounces before dinner, 40 ounces before bed. Great strategy, very simple, and I'm able to apply it 98% of the time. It's very rare that I'm not staying hydrated. Why? Because taking care of my body is important, and so I will definitely be staying hydrated as I go in this process. For myself, just personal goals to stay healthy, stay fit, and stay hydrated. Limiting alcoholic beverages, of course, that can dehydrate you. I personally will include tea and water in this, as long as it doesn't have tons and tons and tons of calories associated with that beverage itself. Like if it's a Frappuccino from Starbucks, we're not really going to call that a hydration strategy. That's a milkshake in a sense. But just having like black or lightly caloried tea or coffee with cream or sugar or something, not too big of a deal. Consider consuming electrolytes with fluids when you feel your fluid levels are lower or you've definitely sweat. So NUN, N-U-U-N, is a good one to do. There's a lot of other ones on the market. That one's just a tablet you drop in water. I've used it in the past and generally recommend it to people as a simple, easy way to get some electrolytes. Gatorade has a lot of sugar in it. That's the go in Gatorade that they market to you to be able to do the fourth quarter and stuff. It's just tons of carbohydrates, sugar, not necessarily so much sodium or potassium. You're going to find a lot more in the NUN tablet, along with a multitude of other electrolytes that will help manage that. Hence why I would say do that instead. Coffee dehydration. Although urine output can be increased with coffee and caffeine consumption, the actual result of body fluid balance doesn't appear to be a negative overall. So, like I said, I don't count it against. If you drink more liquid, you pee more. And that's what we can see in coffee or caffeine. But same thing with water. If you drink a lot of water, then you pee more. Does that imply that water dehydrates you too? No, it doesn't. So I'm along with this myth busting that we can count the caffeinated beverage as part of it. So hydration for athletes. So engaging in rigorous physical activities, obviously you're going to be sweating more. You're going to go, if you're outside, especially if it's going up to an hour or longer, then you're going to be sweating quite a bit. Athletes train and compete for many hours. They can lose 10 to 15 liters per day. That's a significant amount. So 25 to 30% of your total body water, it's like a lot. So it's going to be super important to have a personalized, individualized strategy around that. It's probably involving electrolyte tablets as well. And even overhydrating the day before an activity so that you are doing better. Estimating sweat rate. Sweat rate is a variable, so you need multiple measurements. So we can check your weight, check the amount of exercise, check your weight again, calculate the difference. So then you see how much fluid you do. So 1 kilogram or 2.2 pounds can equal you drinking at least 32 ounces of fluid, water, afterwards. So need to account for the fluids consumed during the session. And if your exercise is robust, you definitely will want to have water consumed during the session. So under 7, if it's a low amount, then less than 24 hours per hour afterwards. If it's a moderate, you're losing quite a bit more, then we're going to go for 48. Or if it's like a really hard effort, sweat, hot outside, then we're certainly going to be drinking a lot of water. And you have to be very intentional. It's sometimes you're tired after the workout or run or effort, and you just don't want to drink. You have to force yourself to. It's not a matter if you do or don't want to. It's a matter of just forcing yourself to do it. Now, other factors that impact the sweat rate. So intensity of exercise, duration, of exercise, the environmental conditions. In Ohio, it's hot and humid right now, so you're going to sweat more. It's ideal to even just work out at other times of the day. Morning or evening are significantly less hot times to do it, and you're going to risk less the amount of effort that you'll be putting in or getting any potential ill effects of excessive fluid loss. Body size, the bigger you are, the more you're likely going to sweat. And sweat sodium concentration is something that you probably can't predict without actually getting like measured or monitored in a lab or something. But here's the concentrations here. So it ranges from a low sodium concentration to a high amount. So this is per milligrams per 32 ounces. So the highest, if you are a super long, very hard workout in hot conditions, you may be even better off adding an extra 2,000 milligrams of sodium into your day. And that would be advisable. So electrolytes, sweat concentration, sweat rate, duration, your net losses. So how concentrated of sweat you had in your body and the sweat rich that you lost it at for a month of time will give you that average of how much it is. Athletes do not need to replace 100% of the sweat loss. Okay, so you don't have to just drink excessive amounts of weight of water. Fluid intake during prolonged exercise and heat can alter physiological responses. So hyperthermia, reducing the risk of hyperthermia. So when you're, especially in cold temperatures, you're going to be able to keep your body elevated and you also sweat a little less. There's lowering the cardiovascular strain, so your body is going to help you to even the perception of it is a lot easier and better for you as well. So you'll just be able to have ease of this in the process of your perceived exertion of it will be better. So drinking water during your exercise protects blood flow to active skeletal muscles, your skin, your brain, so your body's constantly circling through this in a really good way. So staying functional and having new blood constantly coming in and never having a lot of lactic acid pooling in your body would be an excellent thing to do and manage. Alters your neural function that reduce the perception of effort. So again, that perceived value of effort is down. So you actually can go faster at a lower effort, in a sense, is what that says. So reducing the reliance of carbohydrate as a fuel, muscle glycogen. So your muscles are a storage unit for muscle glycogen, which is stored carbohydrate. Your muscles can hold so much gas in the tank. It's like your gas tank of the car. The gasoline in the car your body uses to operate the car. Your muscle, the muscle glycogen in the muscle that's stored is like the gasoline that powers your body. So if you're staying hydrated and even consuming calories during a higher, longer duration effort, you are preserving the muscle glycogen in your muscles for longer down the road, alleviating the risk of you bonking or hitting the wall or slowing down the further out you go. So that's super important to have a fueling strategy. I had a cyclist recently down in Texas. It's crazy hot in Texas. It's like 95, 105 all the time. And he was doing a bicycle ride that he signed up with. Well, when I first met him, he just wasn't consuming anything on the bike or rides. And he was overeating calories in not good ways. And so we got the nutrition dialed in a lot better. He was actually fueling himself. I gave him a lot more calories of good, healthy food to eat. His body weight went down. His performance and recovery went up. And he actually was able to compete in a 70-mile mountain bike race in a 24-hour time frame on 10 different trails in the circuit loop that he was doing in his area. So he called me after he got done and shared how well he did and how he felt like he probably could have kept going even. That's excellent because he had a fueling strategy. He had around food, around water, and it worked significantly better than what it would have, especially spending multiple hours on the bike at a time before he'd go to the next trail to do it again. Optimizing athletes' hydration strategy can improve performance, obviously. Again, that perceived value, perceived exertion in and of itself is going to allow you to run a lot faster without problems. So, exercise-induced dehydration is a greater loss of over 2% of your body mass. Your blood plasma volume goes down, your osmolarity goes up, and so your sweat rate for your given core temperature goes down and you are hotter. Your body is literally hotter. There's a significant sensation of thirst. Your cardiovascular strain goes up and your blood flow to your muscles, your skin, your brain go down. Your performance goes down, obviously. So, drinking to thirst, we want to make sure that you're staying and drinking to your thirst level, but if you are going more than 60 minutes, so under 60 minutes, you're going to play pickup game of basketball, you can drink to your thirst. But if we're doing a planned hydration strategy for something that's over an hour, especially in the type of heat that we're experiencing in the summer now, that would be very important. Hydration for women, let's go over this. Another nice, refreshing beverage on the slide there. Now, hormones, basal, body temperature, your hormonal levels, and you have different types of levels over the course of the day or the month. So this is over the course of a month and how things fluctuate based on this. So no gender differences. Separate hydration strategies for men and women isn't warranted. So that's really nice. Effect of menstrual cycles on sodium and fluid balance appears minimal, so you don't have to do some electrolyte balancing out while you are in the cycle itself, and that's what this is. So we can see right in the middle is where the actual phase hits, and so we can see that there's different cycles, but they ultimately return back to zero. That's what this chart is saying. We've got the lateral luteal phase may be slightly more impactful upon changing to fluid and sodium balance. So you might have a little more positive sensation in there with getting better fluid and sodium balance. The American College of Sports Medicine on exercise and fluid replacement. The sex differences in renal, water, and electrolyte retention are relatively subtle and are most likely not of consequence. So again, it's no difference, which is nice because I've always considered it to be no difference, especially with hydration. The only thing that I personally generally encourage women to drink upwards of 80 ounces of water, men to drink over 100 ounces of water for the simple weight calorie food management, because if they're drinking lots of water, they're more than likely going to be more hydrated, but they're also going to be more full feeling, and they're going to be less likely to eat calories. So it's a 0 calorie weight maintenance strategy for me to use for my clients to drink more water and eat less food. Because if our body's actually thirsty, but we think we're hungry and we start eating food, then we have more calories, and now we're not in the calorie amount that they are supposed to be in, which then creates complications for me as a coach to help understand how they can lose weight. I'd say about 60% of my clients are about weight loss clients as I work with them. The others are digestion issues, performance gains, and a lot of other things. Practical perspective. Sweat sodium concentration. No significant differences in sweat sodium concentration between males and females. They're determined by a person's genotype. So individual genetics make the difference here for them. Their sweat rate. Typically men have greater sweat rates than women because women have smaller bodies and lower metabolic rates. As a result, the higher sweat rate, the total electrolyte losses may be higher for men over women but obviously individuals may vary. So just if we have different people at different sizes makes a difference. So, all right, menopause. Hot flashes are characterized by a sudden feeling of heat, which seems to come from out of nowhere and spread through the body. Yes, this is a problem with hormones for women. Can include sweating, palpitations, red blushing. Susceptible to dehydration may be increased. So your body's doing these hormonal backflips, and it's really important to be able to stay hydrated in that situation and maybe drink a little bit more intended so that you are feeling better, and maybe you might not feel as hot as well during that. Hydration and aging. Less water to start with. So amount of total body water decreases 15%, 20 to 80. So everything gets age. I'm 40 now, so I'm over the hill, as they say. I don't feel any different than I did like when I was 25, but I'm older now, so it is what it is. So I know I need to constantly work on staying hydrated because I'm naturally going to be have less body water. Tend to lose more water through urine. Kidney function deteriorates, less concentrated urine, more water loss, so your body's just not functioning properly, hence even more reason to stay hydrated so that the body does work functionally. Low levels of aldosterone, the hormone responsible for sodium conservation, which reduces the body's ability to retain water effectively. So it's important that, again, we're focusing on water so that you can have a good sodium water balance as we go. So incredibly important there. Sensation of thirst is diminished. So you're not thirsty as much. So like you can go long period of times without feeling thirsty, and so then you're not rehydrating effectively. You can go like 6 hours without even feeling at all thirsty. So that's a problem. All right, other scenarios to face here with hydration. Traveling. I had a really long flight going to Costa Rica and back. It's important during long hauls, especially like 4, 5, 6 hours or more, to move, to function, to drink water, stay hydrated, to have the legs squeeze and contract and stuff as you go in there so that you are staying hydrated. So biggest tips here is stay well hydrated from the get-go. So do a better job hydrating before you leave. Avoid excessive caffeine or alcohol. Carry an empty bottle with you, right? You can't go through TSA with water. They will make you pour it out and go through the whole process again. Or you get to lose your water bottle like I did once. We were a little rushed in security. I ended up losing one of my Nalgene bottles that I had when I was from high school. So I wasn't very excited about that, but we had no time left to dilly-dally. So we had to get through, and the lady just couldn't pour the water out and give me my bottle. So she wanted me to go all the way through the line again. And had this little like power trip moment with me. I was like, all right, well, I got to go. So I guess keep it. Eat fruit and vegetables. So moisture-rich foods, eat those during, not necessarily the dry trail mix snack thing that they give you or pretzels and stuff. Have food available. You can carry fruit and vegetables onto the plane. Obviously, you have to be concerned with where you're headed. You can't take fruit and vegetables into another country. But if you're traveling domestically, then yeah, pack some fruit and vegetables. Excellent travel companions to keep calories in check. Add more sodium to retain more fluid. So you could, if you have a flight meal, you might naturally get a lot more sodium there because they have a lot more sodium in them. But if you need to, you could take a NUN tablet and include that in your hydration strategy while you're there so you get plenty of electrolytes along the way. Illness. Severe dehydration can result from diarrhea or vomiting, somewhat kind of like the experience I shared earlier. Just things were not going on. So if you are, things aren't sticking inside you one direction or the other, you definitely need to either find hydration strategies drink anything that tastes good or go get the saline solution and rehydrate strategy from the doctor itself. Diorite or oral rehydration solutions developed by the World Health Organization could be prescribed, so things that can really help you rehydrate yourself. And some of these could even, like if the World Health Organization designing it could be more of those extreme dehydration situations. Probably not going to find a lot of those in the USA, but in other countries around, you could find the need for these solutions to be managed. Before ORS, an intravenous drip, a saline solution, was the mainstream treatment for diarrheal dehydration. And then this was developed in the 1960s and started using to help people in other countries with dehydration. So our conclusion, staying hydrated is super important. Performance, health, it's just the thing you should be doing, period. All lifelong, you have to be constantly working on getting more water in. And having a good urination strategy. If you drink 80 ounces of water across 16 hours, it's like 5-6 ounces an hour. Nothing big. It's not going to send you to the bathroom very long. But if you go 5 hours without drinking, then drink 20 plus ounces at one time, you're going to have to go to the bathroom a lot. That's just the human body, how it works. Sodium is the main electrolyte loss in sweat, and the amount lost can be a variable between people. Bigger, smaller, more weight, less weight, body fat levels, all can change that. And the amount of exercise and activity you do changes that. Adding electrolytes to fluids can help the body absorb and retain fluid. So the nun is a good way to help be able to rehydrate yourself. Dehydration can be solved by drinking more within reason. So just literally drinking more fluid over a course of a 24-hour can definitely help. Evidence suggests that coffee is not dehydrating. So I had to look at the studies myself and like, wait a minute here. They're calling coffee or caffeine a dehydrator because when you drink more coffee or caffeine, you have to go to the bathroom. Sounds like you just have to go to the bathroom because you're drinking more. Scenarios might warrant a more proactive approach to hydration, exercise, hot, humid environments, long-haul travel, illness, menopause, aging, and manual work. So you have to be more proactive in what your strategies are if you see those situations showing up in your life around your work. So I want to thank you so much for staying on here and joining me through this presentation on Hydrate. I hope you have some more effective hydration strategies for you to implement on here in the next couple of days to be hydrated and just literally feel better. So there's our website,